Thank you very much for tuning in. I just want to explain this very, very nutty idea that I've had to deal with just now. Okay, so basically, what happens is a normal, healthy woman. Okay, the woman is married. Okay, a married woman, and she has a natural childbearing window. What is the natural childbearing window of a woman? Ages 15 to 35. Right, that's basic biology. So then get this, right? So they got this idea that they must work and work and work, and then there's too much pressure, so you can't have a baby. The woman cannot have a baby. But don't worry, don't worry. There's always IVF, right? I know about the dark sides of IVF. I know all this stuff. There's a it's a really gray area, but we're not going to talk about that today. We're just going to talk about this issue where the company, right, and this is a major city, right, so this happens to a lot of people. The major city, the company in the major city is basically forcing the young lady to expire her childbearing years, right? This is exactly what happens. And then after that, don't worry, the company's going to pay for the IVF. Okay, I want you. This is nutty. Okay, this is a nutty idea. It's completely illogical and doesn't make any kind of sense. So basically, they're going to exploit the young woman, her working years, right? Her career driven lady. I mean, she doesn't necessarily want to. She has to because the prices of basic necessities are just so high that she has to work, right? So she is basically unable to. And they're crying that the fertility rate is down, right? Of course it's down. I mean, what kind of nonsense? This policy, it should be the government should put this kind of restriction on the industry making such a ridiculous demand to a. I mean, the woman should be hailed as a hero to the nation, right? The mother should be hailed as a hero to the nation. There's nothing more honorable than bearing children. Childbirth, right? There's no work more honorable, right? So we have it completely upside down. Like we have this idea that these no. There's nothing honorable about being a CEO in a sky high building and all this stuff. You know who's more honorable? You know who's more honorable? A farmer. A farmer. That's an honorable profession, right? Farming. Okay, so a farmer's just a poor farmer. He does. Okay. Well, try to eat nothing for just a few days, and you're going to be crying for farmers, right? It's a very, very honorable profession, and we tend to, for some reason, think of farmers on the lower rung of the social ladder. He's absolutely not, or for example, the street sweeper, the very, very, street sweeper, like, I'm just making an example, but where are we putting our women, right? Our women should be up at the top of the list, the most honorable, and I think we forgot honor in our society. I mean, maybe that's the problem, but the woman, right, should be the number one honorable. Childbearing, it should be viewed as a privilege that, some women are so very, very, thankfully they are able to this is a natural fertility that is God given. I mean, this is a very, very special thing. Okay, so let's continue on. Okay, so basically what happens is that they are basically forcing this young woman and many young women to expire their childbearing years, but that's okay because they're going to pay for IVF later on, right? So we can get the oocyte and then the. All right, so the thing about that is that there's a natural selection. If you're familiar with embryology, that there's a natural selection where the sperm, well, there's an oocyte that is released from the ovary, yeah, and then after that, there's so many sperms that will try to get in, right? It's a beautiful process. What is particularly stunning is that the oocyte will actually choose the best sperm. There's a natural selection here, and that will make a good baby, right? But see, the IVF will just ram any old guy's sperm in there. I'm not saying that an IVF baby is not good or anything. I'm just saying that this is one of the cons of IVF, and there's a few cons of IVF, and I was talking about the cons of IVF, and I said, well, what about the cost, right? Isn't a baby? Conceiving a baby naturally is 100% free. You don't have to pay to conceive a baby naturally. She said, I'm not worried about that because the company is going to pay for the IVF. Just imagine for a minute how nutty that is. Okay, just imagine how nutty that is. But a lot of these women, they don't have the choice, right? This is a violation of human rights. This is certainly forcing a young woman. I mean, sure, you're not really forcing them. They do have the option to basically leave the city, if they want to go to another place. I said, well, what about moving to a different place? I said, well, we're thinking about that too. But if she wants to keep the job, right, she has to expire her childbearing years and devote her youth to the company, and then after that, they will pay for the IVF. I mean, how nutty is that? How illogical is that? You're going to. This is a free and beautiful process. You should you really should support a young lady, but these companies are just are not seeing the bigger picture. They're just saying, oh yeah, we're going to have to pay for the maternal leave and all this stuff, and they're not seeing the greater picture. I mean, this is the future of the nation, right? This is the future of the world. Oh man, this is so nutty. And yeah, I mean, I get why. I mean, I mean, I get why this is happening. You have to be mature and say, okay, listen, they have limited funds and they can't afford to, pay for a woman's maternal leave and all this stuff, and it would be illegal to fire her. So they're just basically, violating her rights in a way that can't be prosecuted and saying, look, you have to expire your childbearing years. They're not saying it explicitly like that, but that's exactly what's happening. You must expire your childbearing years, and then later we will pay for your IVF. Like, this is the most nutty thing that I've heard for a long time. Isn't that nutty? I mean, just my personal opinion, but isn't that a very nutty thing? It is. I'm telling you it is, because I see how nutty it is, right? How nutty is that? You're going to waste your childbearing years and then get IVF. I said, okay, you're your IVF, and what are the pros and cons of IVF, right? So that's what we were talking about, right? So number one, the pro is that you can get a baby. Okay, babies are great. I love a baby. Okay, I'm not saying anything bad about the baby. The baby's great and all this stuff. There's some cons about the IVF, and the IVF, there's some kind of dark areas there that we could go into, but it's not really my topic that I talk about. I talk about birth control pills. If you don't know me, I'm John Michael. I talk about how birth control pills do not actually prevent the pregnancy. It just actually, the baby is conceived, and the baby will go through a beautiful process called the zygotic genome activation, where the baby will be conceived, and there's a new set of DNA, 50% from the mother, 50% from the father, and then, unfortunately, because of the mechanisms, the mechanisms of the birth control pill, the baby will die at the later very healthy stage of implantation, which is terrible because there's so many deaths. One is too much, but there's many deaths, and many ladies that are unsuspectingly on this birth control pills because they were lied to. People like Dr. Dow lied to them. Dr. Michelle Dow lied to these women, these gullible, sometimes underage women, young ladies, right? And to lie to them, that saying that the birth control pills, it prevents pregnancy, and it doesn't. It doesn't. You're just the mother of a dead baby or multiple dead babies, right? And that's really what's a crime beyond any kind of reason. It's terrible. It really is bad. Anyways, so. And I suspect that these women, why are they not getting pregnant all this time? They're married, but they're not getting pregnant, so I suspect it's the birth control pills, but I didn't ask that. It's not really my place to ask that. But what is my place to ask is the pros and cons of the IVF and all that stuff. So then let's go back to the pros and cons of the IVF. So the con is that, the natural selection process where the oocyte will actually pick the best sperm. Okay, so that's a good thing, right? That's a very wonderful thing. It's a natural process where the oocyte will be like a beautiful young lady sitting at a bar. She's drinking a martini, and they got a whole bunch of guys, like 10 or 12 guys, just trying to get her and to woo her and to say, oh, look, you're the most beautiful. I'm going to be your husband. I love you so much, and all the stuff, and then she picks the right one, and she picks you. Yeah, that's what an oocyte is. So basically, there's the oocyte, the egg coming from the ovary, and then the sperm trying to get into they're trying to get us a life and death situation. If they don't get it, they die. And it's a life and death situation. So they're going to try as much as possible, but it's the oocyte that actually picks, the lucky sperm. Yeah, it's a true story. If you are interested, embryology is very cool. So what happens is that there's no baby. Okay, she's 30, 32, 33, 34, 35, and then there's no baby. But it's okay because they will have IVF, in vitro fertilization, which is basically just skips this natural process and just basically slams any old sperm in there, and let's call it a day, right? And a baby's a baby. Okay, we love a baby. At the end of the day, there's still the ZGA, which is very, very, it's a baby. Nobody's going to deny his or her humanity. It's a very, very wonderful and fearfully created. The baby's very, very, and a part of why IVF is so special is that that was the lucky sperm that came in, because that's the sperm that came in, because it was slammed in there or not, that's the baby, right? So whatever. I mean, that's a philosophical debate. Now we're getting into the philosophical debate, but then we're talking about the cons of IVF, right? That this doesn't actually have the natural selection and all this stuff. But then I said, what about the cost? Why are you going to be working, and then the IVF is going to be so expensive later on? That's okay, because the company's going to pay for it. And then that just hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, what? Are you serious? I mean, what kind of foolishness is that? Are you serious? The company is going to exploit you for your, and make you, deplete your childbearing years, yeah? And then they're going to pay for IVF. What nutty, foolish, nonsense garbage is that? I mean, the woman should be hailed as the hero of the nation. I mean, not some bird. What? No wonder the childbearing years, the fertility rate is so low, and the childbearing happens at such a later years and all this stuff. Does anybody else see how nutty this is? I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. This is not nutty nonsense. You know what I mean, though? I mean, this is kind of foolish, yeah. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're just in my workshop here. We got the full moon going on here. Yeah. So anyway, this is a nutty situation. Nutty situation here. Very beautiful evening here. So I gotta show my dog. He's scared. All right. See you later.